let's take a look at the Unit 3A study guide, kind of talk through a couple of pieces. Now, a lot of these I'm not going to do for you because I don't really need to review what to do, more how to do. So let's take a look at these first four. These first four are just a review, our great refresher on the order of operations. So just to kind of keep that in the back of our head, order of operations starts with our grouping symbols. So that's our parentheses, that's our brackets, our brackets, our braces, and also our absolute value symbols. So that's what we're gonna do first, followed by any exponents, powers, or roots. Now, I don't think I have any roots hidden anywhere. Multiplication and division. Addition subtraction. The key on these two is to go left to right as you solve. So all multiplication and division, do those left to right. Whatever's first, do first. That's the key to solving those problems. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys work on those, and you can check those on the answer guide later on. So let's take a look at solving these equations. Let me clear off this and say, okay, how do we simplify a square root to its nearest fraction? So we'll go ahead and do number 5. So number 5, we take a look at and go, the first thing we do is go, okay, what are the two perfect squares that are, one is less than that, one is greater. So the two perfect squares, the lesser one is 25, the greater one is 36. So what that tells us is that this answer is between 5 and 6, and it's going to be closer to 6. So our final answer is going to have 5 something. Now how we get the fraction is we take 27 minus 25 and 36 minus 25, always remembering that we subtract by the lower perfect square. And that gives us 2 over 11. That's our closest approximation for the perfect square for the irrational number, the square root of 27. You'll do all of them that way as you go. Let's keep going as we flip through this. We can take a look at this one. Let me clear this off one more time. Remember about a rational or irrational number. So rational numbers are all your perfect squares. That 1, 4, 9, 16, all the way up till we ran out. We made our list all the way up, I think, to 15 or 225, which is our largest perfect square we talked about knowing. Anything that is not a perfect square is referred to or considered an irrational number when you take the square root of it. So kind of keep that in mind. Knowing what your perfect squares are is really what I'm testing on this one. All right, let's take a look a little further. All right, so we started talking about combining like terms on this one. So our first one we'll take a look at this first one, number 11. When we talk about like terms, we're talking about variable terms. Well, let me get my pen. Variable terms. So ones with a variable, and constant terms. Those are the things we talked about. So with a variable, without a variable. So in this case, we're going to say, okay, the only two numbers that are alike are these two constant terms, a -7 and a +3. So those are the only two I can combine. So I'd have 5p with nothing to combine to. -4 and +3 is -7 and +3 is -4. Since I'm not asking you to solve it, just simplify, that is your final answer. We move on to number 14. Number 14 is the beginning of the distributive property. Now, we talked about other properties, and we're going to cover this as we keep going down the study guide. But when we distribute, it means we're giving whatever's here on the outside to each number, sharing it equally with what's on the inside. So -7 times 10 is a -70x. And -7 times 7 is a -49. So now we have this number, we bring down our +4. And again, we can combine the two terms that are alike, the two constant terms. So it's -70x minus 45. And we reviewed how to add integers yesterday. So that should be something that's keeping in mind. And you've got a couple more to do. Let's scroll down and take a look at our other properties we can work on. I'm not going to solve many of these for you. We're just going to talk about the different properties. So when we talk about those property types, we're going to say that we have really 4 major properties we're going to look at. We've got the commutative property. All right, and that means I can move my numbers around. Now, I'm not changing anything else. I'm just moving the order. So if it's A, B, C, it can be C, B, C, or C, B, A, or A, B, A, C, B. It doesn't really matter. Then I've got the associative property, C-I-A-T-I-V. This one means I can change my groups. So if I have A times B times C, A and B in parentheses, my next one would be A times parentheses B, C, close parentheses. I can change my groups, okay? Now, we talk about groups because we talk about it could be brackets, it could be braces, it could be absolute values, it could be anything. Well, it really can't be absolute values. That's the one exception to that. And those parentheses. Then we have the identity property. And the identity property is really that they stay the same. So we have two identity properties with the additive identity property, which means if I add 0, I get the same. And I have the multiplicative property, which means if I multiply by 1. The last property, and by far my favorite, is the 0 property. Anything times 0 is 0. My favorite property right there. So that kind of runs us through these. The last thing I want to look at is this last section. The rest of these are kind of just more problems for you to thinking a little bit about. More of those combined like terms problems we were talking about earlier are these linear expressions. So we did these in class the other day, but one of the things we're going to start, these two are don't have to be clear. They're not in the road to get out the door, to navigate through the maze. So we're going to start by doing these. So really what we do have is really like two number sets. We've got A plus B. All of this being A can be combined with like terms. So these 5 and that 7 can be combined to 12x. And this 7 and that 4 can be combined to be 11. That's how you do it with addition. Subtraction is a little different. You still have to do is keep change up, but instead of just changing one number, you change the entire thing because that second term is what we're thinking as one number. Okay, so we have 4x minus 2, change it to addition. Take the opposite of negative 7, which is positive 7, and the opposite of positive 1, which is negative 1, and we're going to combine like terms to get 11x and negative 3. So you've got a quick review on all the different things. Good luck. If you have questions, please come see me Friday morning. I'd be happy to help you or in class. Have a great day.